Hey guys, I am John Carrick, author of Legacy of a Mad Scientist and The Legend of Ashley Fox. Today we are looking at Conan the Barbarian, number 126. But before we do that, we have World Fantasy Tarot card Knight of Wands, Hanuman, the Monkey King. He's had a couple movies lately. I like the Shaw Brothers stuff better than the stuff made in England. I didn't watch the Dev Patel movie. I never will. I didn't watch his other one where he was the Green Knight. I don't want to start on the racist shit this early, so let's leave all the anti-white spurgatory for the end of the video. Me being frustrated about anti-white politics and anti-white culture and white people espousing anti-white views. There's a little bit of that in here. 126, Conan the Barbarian, it's still J.M. DeMatteis, and I had to look him up. And he is an anti-white, pro-Jew sort of guy. And, just how dare you be that in this culture? He is an anti-Conan guy. And that is the writer of this book. And I had to look it up because I had to know what's going on. Look, when you look at fiction structured as quickly as a comic, it's like a joke. When you hear enough of someone's humor, you have a very good sense of their character. When I read enough of someone's writing, I get a very good sense of who they are. And the dilemma that this writer crafts for Conan in this issue involves this little scheming Jew character. This guy grew up in Brooklyn, New York, J.M. DeMatteis. He's on Blue Sky now. He's still alive. He's trying to do his own shared universe, but he's an anti-white guy. So he's an anti-white guy who has not acknowledged that he's a Jew. I haven't seen him say anywhere that he's a Zionist. So that just means he's an anti-white guy. I believe DeMatteis is probably a French name, but I sincerely don't know. This guy is probably a male feminist. He looks like a guy who's never been to the gym and, not fit to be writing Conan. Not fit. So essentially, Conan is out of the temple that he was in the last one, where they took the boatman, Karen's boat to, and they had to solve the sort of path thing where he ended up throwing Duke and Rick and John Wally through the magic mirror. This guy offers Conan a second trip. Conan has now come out of the temple and is frustrated because the boatman's nowhere to be found. And he doesn't have any way to get out of here. This guy offers him a way out through the magic mirror if he travels to a nearby temple and pries a ruby from the eye of the statue there. That's the deal he's making Conan. Conan agrees. This guy offers him, this guy offers him some gold, and then it turns to dust in Conan's hand. Then Conan grabs him by the neck and tells him that he'll have everything he wants. He just has to get this ruby for him. There's a very Neil Gaiman looking character, a feminine male. Let's not get into that right now. A horse appears from nowhere that Conan is able to ride to the other temple. And before he gets there, he meets these people, these hooded religious acolytes with a fifth character in a litter, crossing through the Egyptian desert from one Luxor shrine to another. Conan, being a personable, friendly sort of guy that he is, offers to chat, asks them some questions, and they attack him and try and kill him. Easier said than done. We get a lot of illustrated violence in this one. There's blood, there's maiming, and there's death. Conan kills this guy first. He's down on the ground, spears another, chops another, gets this one in reverse and chokes him out. This 2-page spread is Conan the Barbarian. It really is. And now, even though he's had to kill 4 guys, well, So he's had to kill 4 guys. He decides he can't afford to let the 5th one be. But the 5th one is an old lady. And she says, now that you've killed my bearers, would you please give me a ride? I have to go to this city. You have to go to this city. Let's both go together. Here she gives him a flashback. She gives him the backstory of how she came to be there. And she came to this religious group years and years and years, 60 years ago. So she's either 80 or she was only 10 here. My guess is she's like 15, so she's probably like 75 or 80. Conan has now taken her to this new temple where she says she will become one with the God of truth. But before they get there, they get attacked by this monster. Blood and a maiming. Bashes him in the face with a rock. This is 80s Marvel Comics. This is Marvel Comics at its level best. Even though you had scheming Jews, scheming anti-white fucks like J.M. DeMatteis already worming their way into the company, this is still a good book. Here it says he blasts him 20 times or a dozen times with the sword before he finally dies. This sword is covered with blood. That guy's dead. Here we get inside the temple and this giant golden worm, which is apparently, it's either stone or gold. It's not quite clear in the narration. She lays down on the altar and the snake worm eats her. This is a Conan comic. No nonsense characters. It's just Conan and the chaos that he finds in the world around him. As much as I don't like the writer and who he is today, maybe back then they were doing it right. Maybe back then there was not as much anti-white sentiment as I am putting into this. Because Conan attacks and kills this worm. It blasts him, breaks some bones. He catches it, breaks his sword in its mouth. This is still John Buscema, right? Maybe this is all John Buscema and J.M. DeMatteis just has to put words to it. Which I like even more. Because he can't screw it up. I'm objecting to who this guy is today. I'm not objecting to this comic. This comic is magnificent. Conan the Magnificent. So he's fighting this thing. He can't kill it with his sword, but he can crush it with a giant rock pillar. You know what? I'm leaning with the idea that John Buscema did all this. And that J.M. DeMatteis was just responsible for putting words into it. I don't think it needs words. Really kind of doesn't. Fucking awesome. Here he gets the ruby. Now he's got to go back. And he realizes that all the people that this snake has eaten are now in the ruby. Like Zod in the Phantom Zone. Right? He gets back. Here's this skirmy. And you know what? I think this is John Buscema because of what happens next. Because if it wasn't, this guy would have gotten the upper hand on Conan. But he doesn't. He tries to. He blasts him in the face with essentially pepper spray or mace, some sort of powder, cayenne pepper. You know, Conan doesn't like it. It should have killed him, but it doesn't. And he grabs the ruby and slams it into a wall. And here in the narration it says that Conan realizes that the dust should have killed him, but it didn't because the girl, the old lady who he helped in the desert and didn't kill because he helped her, she protected him. And I like that. And considering the way this ends, it's very true. So this guy gets frozen now into red glass. He gets his karma. We all get our karma, don't we? I want to kind of leave the art up for a second. We got this Human Torch bit with Hostess. Someone should really collect all the Hostess. I don't know how many there are, but there's got to be a couple hundred. Conan gets out, and this girl doesn't look exactly like the other one, but he says that it's her spirit. The narrator, the writer, says that it's her spirit. And he finds himself no longer in Egypt. He's in a meadow. There's a city. He's been teleported, and he got gold and food and wine. The snow-haired woman of the wastes. This one was supposed to be about the Aesir. The last one said that the Aesir were next. I swear to God it did. Of Ice and Aesir. This was not of Ice and Aesir. This is direct continuation from the last one. Snow-haired woman of the wastes. Maybe that's of Ice and Aesir. Let's see what this is called. The blood red eye of truth. It's not a bad comic. This is a good Conan comic. Even if I don't like who this New York human has become in his later years. Hanuman. All right, let's do the next bit. Hey guys, I am John Carrick, author of Legacy of a Mad Scientist and The Legend of Ashley Fox. And I'm so proud of these books. Reading these comics, every day I read one of these, and they don't measure up to what I could do if I could draw. And it's so frustrating. But at the same time, I have to acknowledge that this is indulgent on a mad scale. Because I know how to create drama in a fictional setting, it's really easy for me to take a simple thing and make it dramatic. The best example I can think of this is in the black and white film To Have and Have Not by William Faulkner and Ernest Hemingway were the writers on it. And there's another guy too. I think Faulkner did the screenplay and Hemingway wrote the story. William Faulkner, The Sound and the Fury, Ernest Hemingway with The Iceberg. So in the opening scene, there's Humphrey Bogart runs a fishing boat. And in the opening scene, Walter Brennan is his first mate. He's hilarious. There's a tourist who's down wherever they are. I think they're in the South Atlantic, the Caribbean somewhere. And he walks out to the end of the dock and he looks up at the sky and he's like, well, what do you think? Should we go out? Do you think it'll be a good day for it? And there's not a cloud in the sky. It's a beautiful day. And Humphrey Bogart's like, I think it'll be all right. We'll be okay. And so then that little bit right there, just that drama of, do you think we should? So writing is all about decisions. Your main characters have to make decisions. In this book, whatever I might not like about this guy, J.M.D. Matisse, and how he presents himself today as an anti-white white man, if you're an anti-white white man, I have no patience for you. You're a cuck. You're into race mixing. You probably have mixed race grandkids. Fuck you. But I think preservation of I side with Cassius Clay, Muhammad Ali, that bluebirds should stay with bluebirds. There are 21 different species of ravens and they don't intermix. So I'm all for that. I think the Kalergi plan is real. And so I hate those kind of anti-white white guys. And in this book, Conan is not that. Conan makes all his own decisions. The main character has to make their own decisions. I was facing a really big decision this past week and I had to make it on my own. I didn't call anyone and ask them for advice. I didn't say, what should I do? I didn't hem and haw over what I should do. I took action. I've been taking action for the past few days. Constantly, I had to readjust my whole schedule. I'm doing what I have to do. That's something that discipline can get you whatever you want. Discipline can get me my salary and another in a month, in addition to my regular pay, just through hard work if I knuckle down and do it. If I wanted to drive Uber all the time, I could, but it would destroy my creative writing ability. I need a certain amount of fat. By fat, I don't mean really good beef, although that would be nice too. I mean a certain amount of luxury time to be a good fiction writer. My brain needs it. Whether that luxury time is working out, skateboarding, watching movies, drawing. Drawing for me is where I do a lot of the processing. When I was doing construction, that kind of worked too, except I was making like $380 a week and it completely exhausted. And because I was on the job sites, I was taking notes on my stories in Sharpie on chunks of cardboard and had them tucked into my pocket. And at the end of the day, I would take them home and transfer them longhand to it if I did, or start to just memorize the story in my head so I could go through it nonstop. So I've been committed to this, and I'm really happy with where I'm at, with where my skills are. My pride doesn't come from how much money I've made, although I'm super proud of this. I'm more proud of where my skills are at today. My skills were really good when I wrote these, but they're even better now. And I have a bunch of stuff that I can go back and rewrite that no one's ever seen. As long as I don't die, I'm going to be wealthy beyond I will have a kingdom by my own hand. As long as I just don't choke to death or get in a car accident or just die of old age. That could happen too. But the skills I've acquired could have only been done the way that I did it. There was no sales job that I could have gotten it would have changed who I am. And I had to make the decisions I made to get to where I am today. And I took those sales jobs. I had those sales jobs. And if I'd made money at those and had a wife and family, I'd be locked in and be wishing I'd published a novel. Today's card is the Queen of Spades. Yesterday was the King of Spades, and it was Barack Obama. Today's Queen of Spades is a beautiful blonde woman, and she says she's surrounded by capable men, and none of them will give her the help that she's looking for to find her missing husband. What would you be willing to do in these circumstances to get what you want? I'm reading way too much into this card, as you can imagine. If yesterday was the King of Spades and now it's Barack, today's Queen of Spades and it's a beautiful blonde, who's your husband? Maybe her husband is not someone the guys around her want around. Also, the days of me doing things for women and their families are long gone. I don't even want to get into that. No, I'm not helping a woman with her kids. Never. Never will. I'll help them as community members, but I'm never going to be that guy to step in again. I had one girlfriend with a kid who convinced me to date her. And she was really the get me out of this relationship. It was my first girlfriend, my first real girlfriend. And I felt so once I understood what was going on, it was betrayal. And then I don't want to get into the other things that happened in that relationship, but suffice it to say, she wanted me to raise this other guy's kids. She didn't want my kids. I've never had a girlfriend who wanted my kids. And if I had money, I know that's just about money. It's just about money. Also, today's video is brought to you by the comic book. And you know what? I don't want to be in this. Today I'm in a bad mood because of the stuff going on in Comicsgate and people betraying each other, people betraying their friends because they get lied to and they believe the lies. If you're a white man who takes sides with non-whites against white guys, I will never have time for you, especially if the non-whites are lying to you. If the non-whites are a group of homosexuals, women and Latinos and blacks, and they're lying to you to get you to betray other white people, that's the Kalergi plan in action. That is the Jew using blacks and browns as muscle against the white man. So I can be friends with anyone, but if you're openly, I don't know what I'm saying. I'm just frustrated today. I'm exhausted. There's no excuse. And I'm pro-white, and I see things that way. Bosch Fonstein sees things as Muslim and anti-Muslim, and I see things as white, and I see things as all the anti-whites against white people because I'm a white guy. And so that's how I identify. Black guys probably identify as black guys who see everyone against them. There's a lot of them who can identify that way. If I had a bunch of money and could buy and sell people, I suppose I would think about them differently. I suppose I would only think about them as economic units. People who get things done and people who don't. But because I'm on my own and I'm, facing relative poverty, because I'm on my own, I'm really kind of rich, dude. Oh my God, my life is fucking awesome. I have nothing to complain about. I spend my days writing and drawing and obsessing about comics and fiction, and I'm out here promoting fiction. I have nothing to complain about. I shouldn't be complaining about anybody else's fights. There's no fight in the world that is as much fun as doing this. But I see, because of where I'm at, I see everyone's fight up close. And the powers that be love having us divided to conquer us, right? I was just watching this Dark Grift guy. I keep calling him Dark Grift, but his name is Dark Gift. His first name is Anthony. He was on the CG stream tonight. And there's some drama going on because an artist friend of the main characters of Comicsgate was turned against them, and it was a big win for their enemies who lied to him. Some of the enemies are white guys, and it's not a race-driven fight, but I see it that way. I see it that way because every time I see a white guy made the villain in a TV show, I see that as race baiting. But then if I were a black guy, I would see that every time a black guy was made a villain. I don't see it every time a black guy is made a hero. I don't see that as race baiting. Oh, by the way, this is that really good tea, Spring Dragon tea in a Voss water bottle from Ron Tea Garden. I advertised it a few shows back. I think the link is in the description. So I don't see it that way. I don't see it that way unless, look, I see it in things where it's overt and it's trying to remain hidden. We have a lot of the Wizard of Oz kind of going on, the great and powerful Oz, and it's just a guy behind a curtain. And I hate that. I see the Eric July stuff as Jew budgeted through Glenn Beck is a Zionist. So I see Glenn Beck as a Jew. Glenn Beck works for Dennis Prager. Dennis Prager is a Jew. And so Eric July is, by default, a Jewish op, an anti-white Jewish op. There's always a Jew, every time. There's Jewish money behind all these people. Because Jews have all the money. So I want to see them run out or see them so disenfranchised that guys like me would never dream of talking about them. Guys like Kanye would never dream of talking about them. I want to see them represent 2% of the world power, or 2% of the United States power, because that's what they are. Everyone should represent their percentages, right? When I see fights start over value sets that are very specifically structured to disenfranchise white males or white people in general, I see it immediately. The same way blacks see institutional racism everywhere. And it does exist. It does. It absolutely does. This culture was not created for blacks. It is not created in their best interests at heart. I don't care. I don't care. It's not my job to care about them. It certainly wasn't my job to care about them 1,500 years ago when this culture was developing. Why? They're not this culture. English is not their language. It doesn't work in their heads. They should all speak Swahili. None of them should speak English. If it was up to me, I would segregate languages. I wouldn't let you speak English. I'd make it illegal for you to learn it. And I would never learn your language either. And we would all be happy. Everyone would be perfectly happy. And it's, if we can't get this right, it's going to go wrong. So if you guys, this guy came on talking about unity, we need unity. But you can't, unity with someone who hates you is just giving them an opportunity to stab you in the back and to poison you. If you let someone who hates you into your home, you can't eat any of the food in your fridge. It's that simple. And white people are being forced to let people who hate them into their homes, and we're being poisoned by it. Sorry, but that's the message for today. See you guys tomorrow.